Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, February 15th, 2024. I have probably done a 5 similar to this before, but I haven't gotten a good answer to this question if I've posed it previously, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask it again. I was listening to an interview between a journalist and the CEO of a major airline, and the interview was mostly centered around the idea of pollution and climate change and that airlines are a heavy polluter because of the emissions from them. And the journalist was trying to ask about whether the CEO felt like there was a responsibility for the airlines to try to make their planes cleaner and to perhaps discourage people from flying as much. And of course, the CEO of any major company, anybody in a major company who's being put in front of the media, they're going to say only certain things. This is just how it is in America. I assume it's everywhere like this, but definitely in the United States, CEOs' jobs are to make sure that they never say anything damaging to a company. And in fact, their job is to promote the company in most cases, especially when they're speaking to the media. So I really wasn't expecting the person, because at one point there was a question somewhere along the lines of, do you think that people should be flying less because of the effect on the climate? And the CEO dodged the question entirely, did not even address it directly, and instead said, no, I think that airlines promote connection. And after the pandemic, we need people to be seeing each other more often, which is a whole separate conversation by itself on this narrative from higher ups on people having to be in person as a forced thing. But it was a dodge of the question. And instead what it did was the person pivoted around to, here's why flying is great and why it's for the betterment of humankind. And listening to this, the journalist tried a couple of more angles on it, but basically got the same answers. And of course, that's what the CEO said. This is the thing where listening to this, and this is somebody I've heard, a journalist I've heard many times. I have no reason to believe this person isn't intelligent and thoughtful and is capable of asking difficult questions, which this person was. The journalist was asking difficult questions. They just weren't getting any real answers from the CEO. Because, of course, the CEO is not going to give real answers. And so I got to a point, and this segment was maybe 10 minutes long. I don't even think it was that. It was probably more like 5 or 6. But by the time it ended, I thought, what was the point of this? What is a listener to gain from hearing this? Because I don't think most people are really going to think about the fact that the CEO is dodging the questions. I don't know how media savvy most people are. And I'm not saying that as in people are dumb, but you hear the way the CEO speaks, and these people are generally well-versed in how to speak to the media and what to say, especially, good CEOs, any that would be put in front of a reporter, you would expect to have some level of media competency. And so the way it was answered did not feel like a dodge. It didn't seem like it was being disingenuous or dishonest or combative in any way. It was the response of somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of responding to media questions. And while that may come off as impressive in terms of the performance from the CEO, for the listener, there really is no benefit outside of perhaps paying attention to the fact that questions weren't being answered. And again, I don't know how many people think about that when they're hearing stuff like this. I think that most people just don't analyze answers that way. And so in the end of it, I thought, and even from the journalist side, you sit there and think, and I should have asked this to Paris Martineau, but we recorded before I heard this exchange, but I should have thought to ask her this, and maybe I will in another forum. But I sit there and go, what is the journalist's goal in this situation? That journalist must have known that this CEO wasn't going to say, yes, you know what, flying is bad, nobody should fly. Of course that was never going to happen. I don't even pretend that anybody involved in this interview entertained that possibility. Unless a CEO has just left a company under some acrimonious circumstances or is well into retirement and looking back with perhaps age changing some perspectives, you're not going to get that type of answer out of somebody representing a company. I think there may even be legal reasons why a CEO can't say something like that. I don't know enough about it, but I think there's some kind of shareholder responsibility where if a CEO actually said something that might be detrimental to the company's value, they'd probably be in some trouble. So I sit there and think, I get the CEO's goal. They get to espouse their point of view. So it makes sense from the CEO's perspective that they just stick to their company line. But what does the journalist gain? And more importantly, what do we as the listeners gain out of this exchange? I don't know, because I don't feel like afterwards there was a summation where the journalist pointed out that the CEO, basically dodged the questions and that airlines are very polluting. It just kind of ended. And when it did, again, I just kind of sat there and thought, what was the point of this? What did we get out of it? So I extend this question out to you, the listener. What is to be gained from this? What are we supposed to take out of it? Because I cannot figure it out. Later.